Autumn in Rochester, New York, is beautiful. When the maple trees on street corners turn a blazing red, Emma Harrison was organizing books at the public library where she worked, thinking about what to make for dinner that evening. She treasured the small joys of everyday life. The quiet library environment suited her personality perfectly, and she found joy in recommending appropriate books to visitors. Her husband Michael worked as an accountant at a local mid-sized company, a methodical and responsible man. They had been married for 7 years, but there were no children between them. This was their 3rd year of fertility treatments. Each month they rode an emotional roller coaster with test results, following their doctor's advice to improve their lifestyle and continuing to take supplements. Becoming a mother had been Emma's dream for years, but reality wasn't so simple. Michael was a kind husband. Even when treatments weren't progressing as hoped, he never once blamed Emma. Rather, he often said, "We're happy enough just the two of us," words that brought Emma comfort. They spent peaceful days together on weekends, watching movies and taking walks around the neighborhood. Emma's childhood home was about a 20-minute drive away. Her father Robert was an honest man who had worked for years at a local insurance company. Her mother Linda was a homemaker who had supported the family, well regarded by the neighbors. However, the family member who drew the most attention was Emma's younger sister, Sophia. Sophia worked as a hairstylist and captivated many people with her beauty and bright personality. Her blonde hair was always perfectly styled, and her blue eyes sparkled like jewels. She had been a cheerleader captain since high school and was beautiful enough to win beauty contests in college. Their parents, especially their mother Linda, doted on Sophia. "Our Sophia is like an angel," was their mother's favorite saying, and she often bragged to neighbors about her younger daughter's success and beauty. While she praised Emma as a good, serious girl, she never spoke about her eldest daughter with the same enthusiasm as she did about Sophia. Emma loved her sister too. Sophia's brightness brought smiles to the family, and she had the strength to overcome any difficult situation with a positive attitude. However, there were times when Emma felt lonely. At family gatherings, Sophia was always the center of attention, and Emma's stories were often interrupted. When she tried to talk to her parents about the fertility treatments, Sophia's talk about a new boyfriend would begin, and Emma would lose her chance to speak. Still, Emma never voiced her complaints. Her work at the library was fulfilling, and her relationship with Michael was good. She was happy to see her sister doing well, and grateful that her parents were healthy. It might not be perfect, but she accepted that this was her family. The monthly family dinners were precious time for the Smith family. They would gather around the meals Linda lovingly prepared, sharing the week's events. Sophia always brought funny stories that made everyone laugh. The happenings at the salon and interactions with customers were entertaining just to listen to, and even Robert, usually quiet, listened eagerly to his younger daughter's stories. Emma also talked about her work, but library events seemed mundane by comparison. Still, Michael would praise her. "Emma's work is wonderful. She supports many people's learning." Emma was truly grateful for such words from her husband. At the end of October, during the most beautiful season of autumn foliage, surprising news came from Sophia. On the night of their usual family dinner, her sister looked around at everyone with a slightly nervous expression. "I have something important to tell you all," Sophia said after taking a deep breath. "I'm pregnant." For a moment, silence flowed through the dining room. Then Linda let out a small scream, and Robert dropped his chopsticks in surprise. Emma's heart pounded violently, and Michael showed a confused expression. "Is it true?" Linda asked in a trembling voice. "When did you find out?" "Yesterday, I had it confirmed at the hospital." "I'm already 8 weeks along," Sophia answered with a smile. However, to Emma, it seemed like some complex emotion was hidden behind that smile. Robert opened his mouth heavily. "Who is the father? Are there plans for marriage?" Sophia's expression clouded. "That's not clear yet. There was someone I was involved with, but I can't contact him now." "What do you mean?" Anxiety crept into Linda's voice. "He was transferred to another state for work. He won't return my calls or emails." Sophia looked down. "I think he ran away when he found out about me." Emma took her sister's hand. It's okay, Sophia. You're not alone. We'll support you. Michael nodded too. That's right. We're family, so we'll all work together. Linda embraced her daughter with tears in her eyes. Don't worry. Mom is here for you. From that night on, the Smith and Harrison families united to support Sophia. Emma accompanied her sister to checkups between work, and Michael helped prepare necessary furniture and baby supplies. During the difficult period of morning sickness in early pregnancy, Emma went to her parents' house every day to care for her. Thank you so much, big sister, Sophia smiled at Emma while lying in bed. I'm so glad you're here. Emma gently stroked her sister's hair. Of course. We're sisters, aren't we? However, complex emotions swirled in the depths of her heart. While she had been wanting a child and continuing treatment for 3 years, her sister had become pregnant so easily. She was ashamed of feeling envious about this, but couldn't completely erase the feeling. When November arrived, Sophia's condition stabilized. Her morning sickness subsided, and she began working at the salon again. Emma was relieved, but at the same time began to have small doubts about her sister's behavior. One day, when Emma went to deliver dinner to Sophia's house, she saw her sister hastily hide her cell phone. When she asked, "Were you talking to someone?" Sophia answered, it was a customer calling to make an appointment, but her expression seemed somehow unnatural. On another day, after Michael visited Sophia's house, he came home later than usual. He explained, traffic was heavy, but it was a weekday evening, and there usually wasn't congestion at that time. As December arrived, these small inconsistencies accumulated. Michael began checking on Sophia more frequently, explaining, I'm worried about a pregnant woman being alone. Certainly, as a brother-in-law, caring for his sister-in-law was natural, but something bothered Emma. One Saturday afternoon, Emma visited Sophia's house unannounced. The front door was unlocked, so she went inside and heard Michael's voice from the living room. It's okay. Emma won't know. Just wait a little longer. Emma held her breath and listened carefully. But I'm worried. Doesn't she suspect something? Lately, the way she looks at me has been strange. It was Sophia's voice. What were they talking about? Emma's heart pounded violently. You're worrying too much. Emma isn't a suspicious person by nature. Besides, if she says anything, we can just make up some excuse. Emma was shocked by Michael's words. Her husband was saying she wasn't suspicious by nature, but wasn't that because they had a trusting relationship? And why were they keeping secrets from her? Emma quietly left the house. Various possibilities raced through her mind. Was there something between Michael and Sophia? But that couldn't be possible. Michael was a faithful husband, and Sophia was her sister. It must be some kind of misunderstanding. However, through her subsequent observations, Emma's suspicions turned to certainty. Michael's expression when he returned from Sophia's house, the subtle atmosphere when the two were together, and most of all, the fact that Michael had recently begun avoiding intimate time with Emma. In mid-December, Emma made up her mind to ask her husband directly. Michael, is there something between you and Sophia? Michael showed a surprised expression. What are you saying? Sophia is your sister. I'm just supporting her as family. But lately, the way you two have been acting. Emma, aren't you getting too tired? I think you're becoming nervous from the stress of fertility treatments. Emma was hurt by Michael's words. The treatments were certainly difficult, but that was a separate issue from the current situation. However, her husband wouldn't take her seriously. On Christmas night, when the whole family gathered, Emma observed her husband and sister again. There was definitely something between the two of them. The moments when they exchanged glances, the hands that casually touched, and the intimate-seeming conversations when other family members weren't watching. The baby will be born next spring, Linda said happily. I'm looking forward to it. Yes, Mom, Sophia smiled, but at that moment she exchanged a meaningful look with Michael. Emma's heart froze. Could it be that the child in Sophia's belly was? Such a thought crossed her mind, but she immediately dismissed it. That couldn't be possible. But if it were true? The new year arrived, and Sophia's pregnancy was progressing smoothly. Her belly was becoming noticeable, and they found out the baby was a boy. The family was all happy, but only Emma had complicated feelings. One night in February, Emma couldn't sleep and was reading a book in the living room. Michael came out of the bedroom and began talking to someone on his cell phone. He was speaking quietly, but Emma could hear. "It's almost time. Are you ready?" She couldn't hear the other person's response, but Michael continued. "I can't tell Emma. But soon everything will be over." Emma closed her book. What was her husband plotting? And was it related to Sophia? As March arrived, Sophia's due date approached. Emma was acting as the supportive older sister, but inside her heart a storm was raging. She was afraid to know the truth, but it was also painful to continue harboring these suspicions. Then the fateful day arrived. On the early morning of March 15th, they received word that Sophia's labor had begun. Emma, Michael, and their parents rushed to the hospital. While everyone waited outside the delivery room, Emma prepared herself mentally. Soon all the truth would be revealed. When that time came, what should she do? Should she continue supporting her sister as family, or? At 3 in the afternoon, they finally heard the baby's cry, instantly relieving the tension of the family waiting in the hallway. A nurse came out of the delivery room and reported with a smile. "Congratulations. It's a healthy baby boy. Both mother and child are doing well." Linda cried with joy, and Robert showed an expression of relief. Michael had a complicated expression, but Emma couldn't tell if it was joy or some other emotion. Visiting hours begin in 30 minutes. One person at a time, please, the nurse explained. The family decided on an order. First the parents, then Emma, and finally Michael. Emma waited for her turn while trying to suppress the anxiety beating in her chest. When the parents finished their visit and returned, both had tears of emotion in their eyes. "It's such a beautiful baby," Linda patted Emma's shoulder. "Sophia worked so hard too. You should go see him soon." Emma knocked on the hospital room door. "Sophia? May I come in?" "Big sister, come in," came the tired but somehow bright voice. When Emma entered the room, Sophia was lying in bed, holding a small baby in her arms. Her face was pale from the exhaustion of childbirth, but her expression had the radiance of motherhood. "Look, big sister. This is him," Sophia showed the baby to Emma. Emma gasped. The baby was certainly beautiful, quietly sleeping while moving his small hands and feet. However, the moment she saw his features, Emma's heart froze. The shape of his nose, the way his eyebrows grew, and the faint color of his hair. These clearly resembled Michael's characteristics. "Isn't he cute?" Sophia said while watching Emma's expression. In her eyes was a cold light that Emma had never seen before. "Yes, very," Emma answered in a trembling voice. "He really looks a lot like someone." "Looks like someone? Who?" A faint smile appeared at the corner of Sophia's mouth. Emma couldn't answer. Various emotions swirled in her heart. Fear, betrayal, and rejection of a reality she didn't want to believe. Sophia looked down at the baby and slowly opened her mouth. "Big sister, there's actually something I want to talk about." "What?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper. Sophia raised her face and looked straight at Emma. In that expression was a cruelty she had never shown before. "This child is Michael's." The words cut through the silence of the hospital room. Emma clung to her chair, unable to accept reality. "What are you saying?" Emma's voice was shaking. "Didn't you hear? This child is your husband Michael's child," Sophia repeated with a smile. "Isn't he cute? He looks just like his father." "That's a lie, right? You're joking, aren't you?" Emma tried to stand up but couldn't find strength in her legs. "It's not a joke. We've been involved for over 6 months. While you were busy with fertility treatments, Michael was coming to see me." Emma stared at her sister in disbelief. Sophia, you couldn't possibly. Didn't you notice? That Michael often came to my house, that we spent long hours together alone. You're really slow, big sister. The hospital room door opened, and their parents came in. Linda and Robert had heavy expressions. Mom, Dad, Emma turned around seeking help. Sophia is saying strange things. That this child is Michael's. However, their parents' reaction wasn't what Emma expected. Linda averted her gaze, and Robert sighed deeply. Emma, sit down, Robert said in a heavy tone. Dad, you don't believe it, do you? We knew, Emma, Linda said in a small voice. About Michael and Sophia. Emma's world collapsed. You knew? Since when? 2 months ago, Linda continued with tears in her eyes. Sophia told me. At first I opposed it, but then. But what? Emma's voice was filled with despair. Robert stepped forward. Emma, you're the older sister. Sometimes it's necessary to give way to your younger sister. Give way? What are you telling me to give up? Michael, Sophia said while still holding the baby. This child needs a father. And I love Michael. He loves me too. Are you all out of your minds? Emma stood up and shouted. This is adultery. Betrayal. Don't raise your voice, Linda restrained her. You'll wake the baby. Emma looked around at her family in disbelief. Everyone had conspired to deceive her. And now they were treating her as if she were the villain. I was married to Michael for 7 years. And you want me to give him up to my sister? But you can't have children, Sophia said coldly. Michael wanted children. I can give him that. What does Michael say? Emma asked in a trembling voice. At that moment, the hospital room door opened again. When Michael entered, he was holding a white envelope in his hand. Emma, Michael looked at his wife. In his eyes was both regret and determination. Michael, explain this. This is all a lie, isn't it? Emma reached out toward her husband. However, Michael stepped back. I'm sorry, Emma. But this is reality. What reality? That you betrayed me? That you had an affair with my sister? We love each other, Michael said quietly. At first I thought it was wrong. But as time passed, I realized this was real love. Emma was speechless at her husband's words. 7 years of marriage felt like it had become meaningless in an instant. Michael held out the envelope to Emma. It's divorce papers. I've already filled them out. Please sign them. Divorce papers? Emma refused to take the envelope. What are you saying? I want to marry Sophia. I want to take responsibility as this child's father. Responsibility? Shouldn't you have taken responsibility from the beginning? Before having an affair behind my back? Emma, please. I don't want to cause you any more pain. If you sign this, everything will be over. Emma looked around at all her family members. No one was on her side. Her parents averted their gazes, Sophia had a triumphant expression, and her husband stood there holding out divorce papers. What did I do wrong? Emma said through her tears. I just wanted ordinary happiness. I loved my family and trusted my husband. Emma, you're not at fault, Linda said consolingly, but her words lacked sincerity. But sometimes it's necessary to give up. Give up? You're telling me to give up my life? At that moment, the hospital room door burst open. A doctor in a white coat hurriedly entered, looking flustered. Excuse me. Ms. Smith? The doctor looked at Sophia. Yes, that's me, Sophia answered. The doctor had a serious expression. I need to speak with you. About the baby. Tension filled the hospital room. The doctor's expression indicated there was some serious problem. Is something wrong? Sophia asked anxiously. The doctor slowly opened his mouth. I need to discuss the blood test results with you. The doctor's serious expression changed the atmosphere in the room completely. Sophia held the baby tighter to her chest, and Michael watched the doctor with a tense expression. Emma's heart was pounding violently. "I'm Dr. Johnson," the doctor introduced himself, then checked the chart. "We found some concerning points in the newborn's blood test." "What's the problem?" Sophia's voice was shaking. "It's about the blood type," the doctor chose his words carefully. "The mother's blood type is A, correct?" "Yes, that's right." The doctor looked at Michael. "And I understand this gentleman is the father?" "What's your blood type?" Michael answered hesitantly, "Type B." "I see. However, the baby's blood type is O." Silence fell over the hospital room. Emma recalled basic biological knowledge. It was usually impossible for parents with type A and type B blood to have a type O child. "What does that mean?" Sophia's face went pale. "Genetically speaking, the possibility of type A and type B parents having a type O child is extremely low," the doctor explained carefully. "I recommend a more detailed test to be sure." Michael stepped forward. "What kind of test?" "A DNA paternity test. It's necessary to get definitive results." Sophia looked down at the baby with a pale face. "But surely it's some kind of mistake, right? A testing error or something?" "It's possible, but our hospital's testing is highly reliable. However, the final determination will have to wait for the paternity test results." After the doctor left, heavy silence continued in the hospital room. Emma had complicated emotions. If this child wasn't Michael's, then what had this whole situation been about? "It's okay, Sophia," Linda took her daughter's hand. "I'm sure it's a testing error." However, Sophia's expression gradually darkened. She seemed to be hiding something. 3 days later, the DNA paternity test results came in. The doctor visited the hospital room again and announced the results with the entire family present. The test results show no biological parent-child relationship between Mr. Michael and this baby. The shocking words echoed through the hospital room. Michael sat down in a chair, and the parents were stunned. Only Emma felt something like relief. "That can't be right," Michael muttered. "I was certain it was my child." Sophia began to cry. "I'm sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry." "Sophia," Robert said in a stern tone. "What exactly is going on?" Sophia wiped her tears and began to tell the truth in a trembling voice. "Actually, it wasn't just Michael. There was someone else I was involved with." Everyone was speechless. "Who?" Robert's voice was filled with anger. "A customer at the salon, a married man. But he said he couldn't take responsibility because he has a family." Sophia covered her face. "So I thought if I said it was Michael's child, everyone would accept it." Emma was appalled. "So you were lying from the beginning? You were using Michael?" "That's not it. My relationship with Michael was real. But I wasn't sure who the child's father was." Michael looked up. "You were deceiving me?" "I wasn't deceiving you. I just hoped for the best." "Hoped for the best?" Emma stood up. "You stole my husband, destroyed my family, and that was hoping for the best?" Linda also showed her anger. "Sophia, what were you thinking?" "Mom, Dad knew too. You accepted my relationship with Michael. That's because we thought the child was Michael's." Linda cried. "We never imagined you were telling such lies." Robert sighed deeply. "What have we done?" "Emma, I'm so sorry." However, Emma was calm. During these 3 days, she had thought about many things. What family was, what love was, and about her own life. "Dad, you don't need to apologize," Emma said quietly. "Rather, I'm glad the truth came out." Michael turned to Emma. "Emma, You don't need to apologize either." Emma looked at her husband. "Just let me ask you one thing. Did you really love Sophia? Or were you simply succumbing to temptation?" Michael was silent for a long time. Then he slowly opened his mouth. I don't know. Maybe it was temptation at first. But as time passed, I wasn't sure if it was real emotion. Thank you for being honest, Emma smiled. Then I've made up my mind too. Emma picked up the divorce papers. And without hesitation, she signed them. Emma. Linda was surprised. Mom, this is for the best, Emma was calm. I realized during these 3 days. I was living with a family that didn't know real love. What are you saying? Sophia asked tearfully. A real family wouldn't betray me. Real love wouldn't deceive the other person, Emma looked at everyone. I don't want to be bound by false relationships anymore. Michael accepted the divorce papers and said, Emma, you're a strong person. I'm only now understanding what a great loss it is to lose you. But it's too late now, Emma said clearly. I'm going to start a new life. With people who will truly value me. In the following weeks, events developed rapidly. The real father, the married man, ultimately refused to take responsibility. Sophia would have to raise the child alone and return to live with her parents. Michael was left alone in his apartment, spending his days regretting his actions. Meanwhile, Emma received warm support from her library colleagues and friends. Particularly Helen MacDonald, the library director, understood Emma's situation and supported her emotionally. You made the right choice, Emma, Helen told Emma one day. I'm glad the truth came out. From now on, live for yourself. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, Emma moved to a small apartment. It was simple but clean, and above all, it was her own space. Here, she could feel truly free for the first time. 2 years later, in the autumn, Emma Harrison was walking a new path in life in the small town of Middlebury, Vermont. She had considered returning to her maiden name of Smith, but ultimately chose to remain Harrison. She wanted to accept her past as part of her life rather than deny it. Working as the director of Middlebury Public Library, Emma was beloved by the local people. She had boldly applied for the position when the previous director retired. When asked in the interview why here, she answered, because I want to find my true self in a new environment. That honesty was appreciated and led to her being hired. The small-town library had a warmth different from the large library in Rochester. Regular elderly visitors came almost daily and enjoyed chatting with Emma. Children came after school to do homework and asked Emma questions. These interactions with people became like a real family for Emma. She became particularly close to David Keller, a man who ran the neighboring bookstore. 40-year-old David had lost his wife to illness and lived with his 12-year-old daughter Lucy. What started as work-related exchanges gradually included personal conversations, and they occasionally had dinner together. Where did you live before, Emma? Lucy asked innocently one day. In New York State. But I've come to like it here much better, Emma smiled. David was gentle with his daughter and gentlemanly toward Emma. Their relationship was completely different from her married life with Michael. It was a peaceful relationship where they respected each other and slowly built trust. Meanwhile, various changes were happening in Rochester. Michael spent lonely days in his solitary apartment. He worked the same as before at his job, but his colleagues knew his situation, and the previous friendliness was lost. He often spent weekends alone, watching TV and eating frozen food. Sometimes memories with Emma would surface, making him realize how foolish he had been. Sophia was raising her son Ryan at her parents' house. She continued working at the salon, but life as a single mother was harder than she had imagined. Troubled by night crying and exhausted from balancing work and childcare, her former beauty was shadowed by fatigue, and her bright smile became rare. She couldn't contact the real father and couldn't expect financial support. Robert and Linda suffered from the eyes of society. Neighbors knew the situation, and they could no longer live the social life they once had. Linda especially found her long-built friendships cooling, deepening her sense of isolation. And above all, they were tormented by guilt over what they had done to Emma. Around Christmas, Linda finally wrote a letter to Emma. Dear Emma, I don't know how to apologize for the mistakes we made. I deeply regret hurting and betraying you. But hearing that you're living happily in a new place gives me a little peace. I hope someday there will be a day when you can forgive us. Emma cried when she read the letter. The anger was gone. There was just sadness and complicated feelings about the family she had lost. A few weeks later, Emma wrote a short reply. Dear Mom, thank you for the letter. I am truly happy now. Perhaps because of what happened in the past, my current happiness shines even brighter. We can never return to being the family we once were, but I hope we can each find happiness. When spring arrived, David proposed to Emma. In the library garden with cherry blossoms blooming, he said quietly. Emma, meeting you changed my life. Lucy also loves you like a real mother. Won't you become family with us? Emma nodded through her tears. Yes, David. I want to become a real family with you too. The wedding was small, but the townspeople warmly celebrated them. Emma wore a white dress, and Lucy served as bridesmaid. Though they weren't blood related, there was deep love and trust among the three of them. That night, spending time with her new family, Emma thought from her heart, a real family isn't about blood relations, but about the bonds of hearts that cherish and support each other. And what's most important in life is the time spent with people who truly love you. In distant Rochester, her former family each lived in loneliness and regret, but Emma no longer looked back. With determination to continue walking toward the future, she would treasure the happy days with her new family.